Ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday the 3rd of November, Mojang released this week's snapshot called 16w44a. This is a massive bug fix update, step on the way towards Minecraft 1.11 of the PC edition, which appears to be drawing ever closer. This update contains a whole bunch of gameplay and redstone fixes. My name is slicedlime, let me guide you through all of the fixes in this version. Let's start with redstone. The previous snapshot introduced a change to comparators and repeaters that made them not cause block updates. This in turn caused a whole bunch of problems with some contraptions involving pistons primarily. In this snapshot, that change has been undone. Comparators and repeaters now work like they did before. Observers have also had a big update in this version. They will now only react to blocks and block states being changed, not to any block update anymore. That means if a block gets updated but stays exactly the way it was, an observer pointing towards it will no longer fire. Observers used to also send out 2 redstone tick pulses, now the pulse length is 1 redstone tick. Another very important change with observers, when chaining them you could get instant redstone wire. That is no longer the case. If you updated an observer, moved it and then reloaded your world, that observer would rotate. That bug is now fixed. And if you chained too many observer blocks trying to make that instant wire, then you would crash the game. You no longer do. If you pointed the output of an observer into a dropper or dispenser, the behavior of that combo would be unreliable. Sometimes the dispenser or dropper would fire an item, and sometimes it wouldn't. Some fixes to shulker boxes used in redstone contraptions as well. If you placed a shulker box with a dispenser, then a comparator now reading the state of that wouldn't update until it got a block update. That is now fixed. Also, using a comparator through a block to read the status of a shulker box wouldn't update if that box was broken. If you used a piston to move a powered fence gate, the fence gate wouldn't update its state properly, now it does. And if you were sneaking, you could face inside of blocks pushed by pistons. Now, problems with sneaking brings us on to the gameplay fixes in this version. One very important one. If you were sneaking on a block that is shorter than a full block, like a chest or an enchantment table, then you were able to still fall off it despite holding shift. That is now fixed. Some follow-up from last version's fishing update. The line was wrong when you cast the fishing rod in the third-person view, and the fishing lines had unlimited distance. That is no longer the case. If you hit a mob with your fishing rod bobber and then that mob died, the bobber would just hang in midair, and that is now fixed. There's also 2 special directions that caused problems for casting the fishing rod. If you looked straight up, you couldn't cast the fishing rod at all. And if you looked straight down, you could cast it, but then you would crash the server. Another problem with items, if you threw a snowball, it would duplicate into 2 pieces, one of them hitting you, or at least particles for as if it hit you were playing, and then the other one would go on to actually be thrown. Curse of Binding, the new curse enchant, would not be possible to apply to Elytra in survival, now they are. The new max entity cramming game rule, the saga that just keeps on going. That code would count passengers and the ridden entities as separate entities when it counted, so one of them could die or both of them could die from just being in the same place. That is no longer the case. Any entity and all of its passengers will now count as one entity only. The local brewery achievement had a couple of problems. The icon of it was an uncraftable potion, and you could get the achievement by just taking out any non-potion out of a brewing stand. So for instance, putting in an empty bottle and then taking it back out. And if you brewed up a lingering water bottle, a potion with no effect, and threw it, it would still produce an effect cloud. Let's move on to mob changes. If you rode a tamed llama, it would sometimes turn to look at you and then would spin out of control. That is now fixed. Also, wolves would now run away from llamas more often, and if the llama's strength is 4 or 5, they will always run away. If you were trading with a cartographer villager, and you unlocked its exploration map trades, that would cause lag in your Minecraft world, and that has been fixed in this version. Evocation illagers, they would run away from the player if you got too close, or villagers, even if they were on the same team as the player or villager. Zombies, they could pick up multiple items, but when you killed them they would only drop one. That has now been fixed. And a weird one, if you had a shulker box with a shulker on top of it, and then opened the shulker box, the shulker would glitch back and forth. World generation has a few fixes as well in this version, all of them related to how woodland mansions spawn. Sometimes you'd get random cobblestone walls spawning next to mansions. Smooth andesite in woodland mansions would be replaced by the default world generated blocks instead of showing up as smooth andesite. And the villager spawn locations wouldn't overwrite base terrain. Now let's move on to command and map making related fixes. The armor stand hitbox for armor stands with the marker property set has been fixed. If you are a map maker, if you use marker armor stands, then please go ahead and check out that they now work properly for the way you use them. If they don't, then make sure you file a bug to the Mojang Minecraft issue tracker so that the developers can take a look at them. Some other details. You were unable to summon a Vex if it had an empty right hand. Splash and the lingering potions would ignore the ambient and show particle tags. That is now fixed. If you had a creeper that exploded with an effect on it, the created area effect cloud would also ignore show particles and ambient tags. That is now fixed as well. And shulker boxes, if you save them into a structure block, wouldn't be properly rotated if you try to load that structure in a rotated mode. Shulker boxes, like chests, also have a lock tag. However, if you mined a shulker box, that lock tag would disappear. That is no longer the case. Shulker bullets, small fireballs, wither skulls, and fireballs would be unable to hit Vexes at all. That is now fixed, so if you have a map where you need to use that, that should now work. The fishing rod bobber had some incorrect NBT values. I'm not sure that actually caused a problem for anybody, but it is fixed in this version nonetheless. Along with this, there's a bunch of fixes for error messages and chat messages for various commands, including /scoreboard, /enchant, /debug, and /test for block. Some fixes for rendering. Wings would be transparent if you wore enchanted armor. Strays, their overlay would turn dark blue when wearing enchanted armor. If you put wings on small mobs or small armor stands, they would still have a big model as well. And entities would become transparent if armor stands with elytra on them were rendered. A final little quirky rendering fix: if you pushed a structure void with a piston, that piston extension would show the missing model texture. Finally, in this version, a bunch of UI fixes, like items not being shown on the cursor when middle click dragging, the language pre-selection being wrong if you had another language than US English selected. Lots and lots of fixes in this version, but do be aware that there is a new bug with inventory management. It's sometimes very hard to get your items to drop into place where you want them. But all signs are pointing towards Minecraft 1.11 being readied for release reasonably soon. If you want to try out this version, then head into your Minecraft launcher, create a new profile, and select Enable Experimental Development Versions Snapshots. Save and start the game using that profile and you will be playing the latest snapshot. If you're using the new launcher in testing, you should already have an option for latest snapshot when you click the drop down button next to the play button. If you do try it, keep in mind that it is an experimental development version. They can crash your game or even corrupt your world, so test it out on a separate world or make sure you have a backup of your world. If you want to know more about the changes coming to Minecraft 1.11, then head over to my Minecraft news playlist and take a look. There's an update video there for every update or snapshot released. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please help me out in return and leave a like on the video. If you want to stay up to date, then feel free to subscribe to my channel to be notified of new update videos as they come out. My name is slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.